He's so soft,
my
Mommy.
God.
Yes, he likes you.
Can I ride him?
Maybe later, sweetie.
Sarah's old truck moved slowly up the mountain road. The road was narrow and had many curves. Trees stood on both sides, tall and dark green. She had been driving for 3 hours now. The radio stopped working a long time ago. Sarah did not mind. She liked the quiet. The quiet helped her forget many sad things. She was moving to her sister's house far away in the north. She was leaving the city behind. She was leaving her old job and her apartment. She had lost so many things. Just yesterday, the bank sent her a letter about money she did not have. Sarah did not want to open that letter. She did not want to think about it. The mountains felt like a good place to start over. The mountains felt like a place where nobody knew her name. The sky was becoming dark. Sarah looked up through the truck window. Dark clouds were coming from far away. They looked thick and heavy, like something alive and hungry. The clouds moved fast. The wind was cold, and it made Sarah push the truck faster. Then she heard it. Sarah's hands became tight on the steering wheel. It was not a normal sound. It was a cry, not a human cry, but something was hurt and scared. The sound came from somewhere below the road, down in the trees and rocks. Sarah's body became cold. Her breathing became fast. She should keep driving. The weather was getting bad. The storm was coming soon. She should reach her sister's house before the rain started. That was the smart thing to do. That was the safe thing to do. But the cry came again. It was louder this time. It was a sound of pain and fear mixed together. It sounded like something dying. Sarah's chest became tight. She could not push the sound away from her mind. She could not ignore it. Something inside her, something that cared about other living things, would not let her pass by. Sarah's foot pushed the brake pedal. The truck stopped hard on the empty road. The engine became quiet. Sarah sat still for a moment. Her heart was beating very fast. The wind hit the truck. The trees moved back and forth. She opened the truck door and stepped out. The cold air hit her face. The road was empty. No other cars. No other people. Just Sarah and the mountain and the sound of something dying below. Sarah walked to the edge of the road. She looked down into the ravine. It was dark and deep. There were rocks and fallen trees. There was no safety down there. Only danger. Only rocks and pain. But the cry came again. Sarah took off her jacket. She put her heavy flashlight in her pocket. Then she climbed over the metal guardrail. The ground was loose and small rocks fell down below her. Her shoes slipped on the dirt. Branches reached out and cut her face. Blood came from a small cut on her cheek, but Sarah did not stop down. She was moving down into the darkness. The flashlight shook in her hand as she pointed it at the ground below her. Small rocks broke under her feet. She was afraid of falling. She was afraid of dying down here. But she was more afraid of leaving that animal alone. And then she saw it. The flashlight showed her something small and dark. It was a foal. A baby horse. The foal was no bigger than a large dog. Its body was thin, so thin that Sarah could see all of its bones. The foal's coat was a dark brown color, but one side of the body was covered with blood. Sarah's eyes filled with tears. The foal's head turned toward the light. Its eyes were big and dark, and they were filled with fear. The foal's whole body was shaking. Every muscle was moving with terror. The foal tried to back away from Sarah, but it had nowhere to go. The rocks and trees trapped it in this small space. Sarah could see something else, too. Around the foal, there were many hoofprints in the dirt. The prints showed that another horse, maybe the mother horse, had walked away from this place. The mother horse had left the foal alone. But why? How could a mother horse leave her baby? Sarah looked at the foal again. The animal was not just thin from not eating for a few days. No, this thinness came from weeks without food. Maybe months. The foal's ribs showed through the skin. The foal's legs were like sticks. The foal's eyes had lost the light that baby animals usually had. This was not a healthy foal separated from its mother. This was something else. This was pain that someone had caused. "Hey!" Sarah whispered. She made her voice soft and kind. "Hey, little girl. I am here. You are okay now." The foal did not move. The animal's ears turned toward Sarah's voice, but the body stayed stiff and afraid. The foal was shaking so much that Sarah thought it might fall down. Sarah moved very slowly. She did not want to scare the foal more. She crouched down low on the ground, so she was not so tall and scary. The foal watched her with those big, dark eyes filled with fear. Sarah put her hand in her jacket pocket. She found a granola bar that she had bought that morning at a gas station. She broke a small piece of it and held it out on her open hand. The piece was very small, just the size of a thumb. "This is for you," Sarah said. "This will help you feel better." The foal did not move for a long time. Seconds became a minute. A minute became 2 minutes. Sarah's arms started to hurt from holding it out, but she did not move. She just waited then. Very slowly, the foal's head came down. The foal was still shaking with fear, but hunger was bigger than fear. The foal's soft lips touched Sarah's hand. The granola bar piece disappeared into the foal's mouth. "That is right," Sarah said, and her voice broke a little. "That is right, sweet girl. I have you now. You are not alone anymore." But as Sarah looked at the foal more carefully, as she saw the blood in the thin body and the scared eyes, a new question came to her mind. How did this foal get so far from help? How did it end up alone in this ravine? How did it become so hungry and hurt? The answers to these questions scared Sarah more than the dark ravine or the storm coming or the danger of staying here. Something was wrong. Something was very wrong. The wind became stronger. Sarah looked up through the trees. The dark clouds were much closer now. They were moving very fast. The storm was coming, and it was coming soon. Very soon. Very soon. Sarah had to make a choice. She could climb back up to the truck. She could drive away. She could find help in a town somewhere. She could let other people deal with this foal. But as the foal pressed its small head against her hand, as the animal sought warmth and safety, Sarah felt something change inside her. The sadness and the failure and the loss that she had been carrying for so long became smaller. Something else became bigger. Something that said she had to help. She had to save this animal. She had to do something that mattered. "I am not leaving you," Sarah promised the foal. "I do not know how I will do it, but I am going to get you out of here. I am going to save you." And with those words, Sarah made a promise that would change her life forever. She did not know this yet. She did not know that this moment would lead to danger and fear and hard choices. She did not know that she would have to fight against powerful people who wanted to keep secrets hidden. She only knew that a small animal needed help, and she was the only one there to give it. The first drops of rain began to fall.
Out of the ravine took almost 1 hour. Sarah's body was covered in dirt and blood by the time they reached the truck. Her clothes were torn. Her hands had cuts from the sharp branches. But she did not care. The foal was alive. The foal was safe. That was all that mattered now. The foal was too scared to walk by itself at first. Sarah had to push the animal gently from behind while pulling it forward by a rope she made from her shirt. The foal was so weak that it stumbled many times. Twice it fell down on its thin legs. Twice, Sarah had to help it stand back up. Rain was starting to fall harder. The first small drops became bigger drops. The wind was pushing Sarah around. She could hardly see the path ahead, but she kept moving. The foal kept moving. Step by step, they climbed out of the ravine and back toward the truck. When they finally reached the road, Sarah was shaking. Not from cold, but from fear and tiredness. She had used all of her strength to save this animal. Now, she had to figure out what to do next. The foal's legs were shaking too. The animal could barely stand. Sarah opened the back of her truck and looked at what she had. Moving boxes, old blankets, books she was taking to her sister's house. Sarah moved the boxes to make space. She lined the truck bed with all of her blankets, making a soft place for the foal to rest. "Come on, sweet girl," Sarah said softly. "Just a little bit more. You can do this." The foal looked at the truck like it was a trap. The animal did not want to go into that dark space. Sarah could see the fear in the foal's eyes. But the rain was falling harder now. The wind was getting stronger. The foal had no choice. Sarah put her arms around the foal's thin body. The animal was so light that Sarah could almost carry it. With a big push, the foal jumped into the truck bed. The animal fell into the blankets and did not move. Sarah covered the foal with more blankets to keep it warm. "You are okay," Sarah whispered. "You are safe now. I promise." Sarah got into the front of the truck and started the engine. The storm was coming faster than she thought. The rain was so heavy that the windshield wipers could barely keep up. The road was wet and dangerous. But Sarah knew she had to find help. She had to find a veterinarian. The foal was dying, and only a doctor could save it. 20 miles back down the mountain, Sarah found a small town. The name was Riverside. It was a quiet place with only a few stores and a few houses. Sarah drove slowly through the empty streets. The rain was hitting so hard that the world looked like it was underwater. Then she saw it, a small building with a sign that said Dr. James Morrison Veterinary Clinic. A light was on inside. Sarah's heart became full of hope. She parked the truck right in front and ran into the building without knocking. A man in his 60s was sitting behind a desk. He had gray hair and kind eyes, but his face became surprised when he saw Sarah standing there covered in mud and blood. "Please," Sarah said, breathing very fast. "I have a foal in my truck. The foal is hurt and sick. I found it in a ravine. I do not know what to do. Please help it." Dr. Morrison did not ask many questions. He just got up and followed Sarah outside. When he saw the foal in the truck, something changed in his face. His kind eyes became hard. His mouth became a tight line. "Where did you find this animal?" he asked. His voice was different now. Not warm, but cold and careful. "In a ravine, maybe 5 miles northeast of here," Sarah said. The foal was alone. The mother was gone. The foal is so thin. It has been hungry for a long time, and there is blood on her body. Dr. Morrison did not say anything, but Sarah could see that he was angry about something. Maybe he was angry at the person who hurt the foal. Sarah hoped he was angry for that reason. They carried the foal into the clinic. Dr. Morrison had a special room with a big door. He put the foal on a clean floor covered with straw. Then he began to examine the animal very carefully. He looked at every part of the foal's body. He checked the foal's teeth. He listened to the foal's heart and lungs. He looked at the foal's hooves. The examination took a very long time. 40 minutes, 50 minutes, an hour. With every minute, Dr. Morrison's face became darker. His jaw became tighter. When he finally finished, he stood up and did not look at Sarah. He just stared at the foal. "This foal is about 4 months old," he said in a quiet, angry voice. "This foal has not eaten enough food for at least 2 months. The injuries on the side and the leg are from rope burns and whipping. The hooves are too long because the foal has been in a small, closed space. The foal has been hurt on purpose. By a person, by a human being." Sarah's body became cold. "Who would do that?" she whispered. "Why would someone hurt a baby animal?" "Come with me," Dr. Morrison said. "I need to show you something." He walked to a small office at the back of the clinic. Sarah followed. Dr. Morrison opened a computer and started clicking on things very fast. Then he turned the screen towards Sarah. Sarah saw pictures. Many, many pictures. All of them showed horses, foals, young animals. All of them were thin like the foal in the other room. All of them had marks from rope and whipping. All of them had the same empty, broken look in their eyes. "What is this?" Sarah asked. "This is a crime," Dr. Morrison said. "A man named Victor Cordwell owns a place called Cordwell Ranch. Officially, he breeds horses, horses that win races, horses that cost a lot of money. But unofficially, Cordwell buys horses and foals and keeps them in small spaces. He does not feed them. He hurts them. He sells them to people who do bad things with them. The animals that are not good enough. He makes them disappear." "That is insane," Sarah said. "That is evil. Why is he not in prison? Why has nobody stopped him?" "Because," Dr. Morrison said, and his voice became very sad, "Cordwell has money and power. He has friends in the police. He has friends in the government. He has friends everywhere. 2 people have tried to report him. One person died in a car accident, a very convenient accident. The other person said they would not talk anymore. That person left town. That person was afraid." Sarah felt like she could not breathe. She looked at the pictures on the screen again. Dozens of baby horses, all suffering, all being hurt, all waiting for someone to save them, and nobody was saving them. The foal you found, Dr. Morrison continued, is one of his animals. I do not know how it escaped or how it ended up in that ravine, but I know it came from Cordwell's operation. I know it came from a place of cruelty. Suddenly, Sarah heard something. A car outside. An engine. The sound of tires in the wet parking lot. Dr. Morrison's face became pale. He walked to the window and looked outside. His hands became shaking. "Do not move," he said. "Do not make any noise." Through the window, Sarah could see a truck. It had a big logo on the side. The letters said Cordwell Ranch. 2 men were getting out. Big men. Dangerous men. "They are here," Dr. Morrison whispered. "They are looking for the foal." And then came a knock on the door. A hard, loud knock. A knock that sounded like danger itself. Sarah's heart stopped. The knock came again. Harder this time. The sound echoed through the small clinic like a warning of death coming. Dr. Morrison's face became white like paper. Sarah could see his hands shaking. He put one finger to his lips. The message was clear. Be quiet. Do not move. Do not make any noise. The knock came a third time. This time, a voice came with it. A deep, rough voice that sounded like a person who had hurt many things in his life. "Dr. Morrison, we know you are in there. We saw the lights on. We need to talk to you." Sarah's breath became very small. She could hardly breathe. Her mind was racing. Did they know? Did they know she had a foal? Did they know everything? Dr. Morrison moved to the door very slowly. He opened it just a little bit. Only his face showed through the opening. "Good evening," he said. His voice was shaking, but he tried to make it sound normal. "What can I do for you?" A man stood in the rain. He was very big. His face had a long scar that ran from his eye to his jaw. The scar made his face look like it was twisted by anger and pain. The man's smile was not a kind smile. It was a smile that showed teeth like an animal ready to bite. "We are looking for a horse," the scarred man said. "A young foal, chestnut color, ran away from our property during the storm. We thought maybe you saw something. Being a veterinarian and all, people bring you animals." Sarah's heart was beating so fast that she thought it might break through her ribs. She pressed herself against the wall in the office. She tried to make herself invisible. She tried to become part of the darkness. Dr. Morrison did not answer right away. Sarah could see him thinking, could see him choosing his words with great care. "I have not seen any horses," Dr. Morrison said carefully. "The storm has been very bad. I have been here by myself all evening, waiting for emergencies. But no horses have come in." It was a lie, a good lie. But Sarah wondered if the scarred man could see the lie written on Dr. Morrison's face. A second man appeared behind the scarred man. This man was smaller and thinner, but there was something in his eyes that was even more dangerous than the scarred man. His eyes looked like the eyes of someone who did not have feelings, someone who could hurt you and never think about it again. "That is fine, Doc," the scarred man said. "We will just take a quick look around. You know, just to be sure, just to check the back rooms. Routine check." "No," Dr. Morrison said, and his voice was stronger now. "You cannot come in without permission. I have animals in here that are sick. They need quiet. They need clean air. Your rain and your dirt will hurt them. If you want to check my property, you could get a piece of paper from the police. You could get a warrant, but you cannot come to my clinic." The scarred man's smile became less kind. His hand moved toward his jacket. Sarah thought she saw something dark and metal there, something that could shoot bullets, something that could kill people. The smaller man put his hand on the scarred man's shoulder. He whispered something in his ear. The scarred man listened. Then he took his hand away from his jacket. "That is fine, Doc," the smaller man said. His voice was quiet and calm, but it was more scary than a loud voice. "You are right. You have rights. We respect that. But we will find that foal. That foal is our property. And when we find it, we will take it back. You understand? It belongs to us." It was a threat, a very clear threat, the kind of threat that said, "We know what you are doing. We know you have the foal, and there will be consequences." Dr. Morrison did not answer. He just closed the door. He did not lock it. Both men could see that he did not lock it. That was a message too, a message that said, "I am afraid of you. I know you could come back. I know you could hurt me." Through the window, Sarah watched the 2 men walk back to their truck. They moved slowly, like they were not in a hurry, like they had all the time in the world. The scar man looked back at the clinic one more time. His eyes were empty and cruel. Then they drove away. Dr. Morrison stood very still for a long time. His breathing was very heavy. His hands were still shaking. Finally, he turned and walked back to the office where Sarah was standing in the darkness. "They know," Sarah whispered. "They know we have the foal." "Yes," Dr. Morrison said. "They know. What do we do? Should we call the police?" Dr. Morrison made a sound that was not quite a laugh. It was a sad, broken sound. "Call the police?" he said. "Sarah, the sheriff's deputy, is Cordwell's nephew. The animal control officer used to work for Cordwell. The police in this valley are not here to help us. They are here to protect people like Cordwell." Sarah felt like the world was becoming smaller, like all of the air was being taken away. She had walked into a place of evil, a place where the law did not work, a place where bad people had one. "Then we are trapped," she said. "If we give them the foal, they will hurt it more. If we keep the foal, they will hurt us." "We have one option," Dr. Morrison said. He walked to the window and looked outside. The rain was falling like the sky was breaking. "We wait for the storm to pass. We see what happens. We see if we can find people on the outside, people who are not part of Cordwell's network, people who can help." But even as he said these words, Sarah could hear the doubt in his voice. She could hear that he did not believe there were any such people. She could hear that he thought they were going to lose. Outside, the storm became worse, much worse. The wind pushed against the clinic like something alive. The rain was so hard that it sounded like bullets hitting the roof. The electricity flickered once, then twice. Then the lights went dark. Dr. Morrison moved through the darkness like he had done this before. He knew where everything was. He found a big machine that started with a loud sound. A generator. Lights came back on inside the clinic, but outside remained black. "The roads will be closed soon," Dr. Morrison said. "Maybe by morning. Maybe sooner. The creek behind the clinic is already rising. If we need to leave, we will have to leave now. But if we leave now with the foal, we will be out in the open during the worst storm of the year." He looked at Sarah. His kind eyes were sad and tired. "We are going to stay here," he said. "We are going to take care of the foal through the night. We are going to keep her alive. And tomorrow, when the storm is finished, we will see if God has any mercy left for us." Sarah nodded. She did not say anything. There were no words for this moment. There was only the sound of the storm, only the knowledge that dangerous men knew where they were, only the knowledge that they were trapped, and that the storm was both their prison and their only hope. In the back room, the foal made a small sound, a whimper, a cry of pain or fear. "Come," Dr. Morrison said. "The foal needs us. That is all we can do right now. We can help the one creature that is here. We can try to save one life. Maybe that will be enough." But as Sarah followed him to the back room, she wondered if one saved life would be enough when so many more were dying. She wondered if helping one foal meant anything when an entire operation of cruelty was still running on the mountain. The storm raged outside, and inside the clinic, Sarah, Dr. Morrison, and the fragile foal waited for morning, for justice, for anything that might be better than this. But none of them believed morning would bring salvation. All of them believed it would bring danger instead. The night was long and dark and full of fear. Sarah and Dr. Morrison did not sleep. They stayed awake with the foal through every hour. The foal's breathing was very shallow. The animal's heart was beating too fast. Death was sitting in the corner of that room, waiting to take the foal away. Dr. Morrison put tubes into the foal's body. Clear liquid flowed from plastic bags into the animal's veins. Medicine that would help. Medicine that might save a life that seemed already lost. Sarah sat next to the foal and held her hand on the animal's neck. She could feel the foal's heartbeat under her fingers. A heartbeat that was fighting. A heartbeat that did not want to die. "Stay with me," Sarah whispered over and over. "Stay with me, sweet girl. Please stay with me." The generator outside made a loud sound that never stopped. The storm screamed against the building like something alive and hungry. The wind tried to break the windows. The rain came down like the sky was collapsing. Lightning lit up the whole sky. Thunder shook the ground. Hour after hour passed. Midnight came and went. 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. The clock moved, but the night did not end. The night seemed to last forever, but the foal held on. Her breathing became a little bit stronger. Her eyes opened sometimes, not with fear anymore, but with something else. Something like will. Something like the desire to live. By 5 o'clock in the morning, the foal was still breathing. "She's going to make it," Dr. Morrison said. His voice was tired and broken, but there was hope in it. "I think she's going to make it." But as the sun came up over the mountains, the storm did not stop. If anything, it became worse. The wind was stronger. The rain was harder. Water was rising everywhere. The creek behind the clinic was no longer a small stream. It was a river, a wild, brown, angry river. Dr. Morrison looked out the window, and his face became pale. "The water is coming," he said. "It is coming fast." And he was right. By 7 o'clock in the morning, water had started to come under the clinic door. Just a little bit. Just a thin line of brown water. But it kept coming. Inch by inch. The water was rising. They had to move. They had to move everything up to the second floor. Sarah and Dr. Morrison carried medical equipment. They carried the foal, who was now stable enough to move, but still very weak. They carried their hopes and their fears up the stairs to the second floor. Behind them, the water kept rising. From the window on the second floor, they could see the disaster unfolding across the valley. Trees were being torn out of the ground like they were made of paper. Houses were being swept away. The road that Sarah had driven on just yesterday was now completely covered with water. Everything was being washed away. Everything was being destroyed. But something else was happening too. The water was not just destroying. The water was revealing. As the flood moved through the valley, it tore open things that had been hidden, things that had been buried in the darkness, things that powerful people wanted to stay hidden forever. 3 miles from the clinic, on the property that belonged to Victor Cordwell, the flood was doing something unexpected. It was breaking apart an old barn, a big building made of wood and metal. The water hit that building like a giant fist. The building had been standing for many years, but it could not stand against the flood. By mid-morning, the building had collapsed, and when it collapsed, things that had been hidden inside came into the light. Sarah was looking out the window when she first saw the rescue team. Then she saw the television cameras. Then she saw people running toward the collapsed building with equipment and lights in urgency. Something had been found. Something important. Something that made people move very fast. She turned on Dr. Morrison's radio. The local news station was talking about a discovery. They were using big words that Sarah did not understand at first. Then the words became clear. "We are at the site of a collapsed structure on Cordwell Ranch property," a reporter was saying. His voice was excited and shocked at the same time. "Inside this structure, emergency workers are finding what appears to be dozens of animals in severe condition. The animals look like they have been kept in terrible conditions. Veterinarians from the state are arriving now to help assess the situation." Sarah's heart stopped. Dozens of animals. Not one, not two, but dozens. She grabbed Dr. Morrison's arm. "Listen," she said. "Listen." They listened together as the reporter continued. "Early count suggests there could be close to 100 animals in this structure," the reporter said, "all in various states of malnutrition and injury. This appears to be part of a massive animal abuse operation. State authorities are now opening a full investigation into how this has been happening on this property without discovery." Dr. Morrison sat down in a chair. His eyes were full of tears. "The storm," he said. "The storm did what we could not do. The storm exposed everything." Over the next 2 hours, the news became more and more shocking. The state veterinarian's name was Dr. Patricia Chun. She arrived at the collapsed barn with a team of animal doctors and rescue workers. She was interviewed on camera, and her face showed horror and anger and determination all mixed together. "What we are seeing here is systematic abuse," Dr. Patricia Chun said to the camera. "Every animal in this structure shows signs of severe malnutrition, confinement, and physical punishment. This was not an accident. This was not negligence. This was intentional cruelty on a massive scale." The camera showed animals being brought out of the ruins. Thin animals, scared animals, animals that had been suffering for a long time. Sarah recognized the look in their eyes. It was the same look that the foal in the clinic had when Sarah first found it. But these animals were getting help now. These animals were being saved now. By afternoon, more news came. The authorities had searched Cordwell's house. They had found documents. They had found money. They had found evidence of sales to people who bought animals for terrible purposes. Evidence of money being paid to people in the government. Evidence of everything. Victor Cordwell was being arrested. That was the news that came at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. But then, at 6 o'clock in the evening, different news came. News that changed everything. Victor Cordwell was dead. He had been found in a cabin near the Canadian border. An empty bottle of pills was beside his body. A note was found, but the note did not explain anything. The note was empty words, meaningless words, a final act of emptiness. Sarah and Dr. Morrison watched the news in silence. He ran, Dr. Morrison said. When he realized he could not hide anymore, he ran. And when he realized that running would not save him, he chose death instead. Sarah thought about the foal downstairs, the foal that had suffered so much, the foal that had almost died, the foal that was now being saved by the very storm that Cordwell must have thought would protect his secrets. The foal came from there, Sarah said. From that place. From that horrible place. She was one of the animals that was almost destroyed. Yes, Dr. Morrison said. But she was saved. She was saved because you listened to a cry in the darkness. Outside, the storm was finally beginning to slow down. The rain was becoming lighter. The wind was becoming softer. The water was slowly beginning to go down. Inside the clinic on the second floor, a young foal that had been broken and hurt and almost dead was eating soft food from Sarah's hand. The foal's eyes were beginning to show light again. The foal was beginning to trust again. The mountain's secret had been revealed. The darkness had been exposed to light. The flood that had seemed like an enemy had turned out to be an ally. And Sarah, who had come to the mountains to escape her past, had found herself at the center of something much bigger than she ever imagined. She had found herself part of a story about justice, about truth, about one person's decision to help, and how that decision could change everything. The rescue had only just begun. 1 year had passed since the night Sarah heard the cry in the ravine. The foal, whose name was now Storm, stood in a green pasture on a sunny day. The grass was tall and good. The sky was blue. The mountains stood in the distance like silent guardians watching over everything. Storm was no longer a skeleton wrapped in skin. Storm had become a real horse, young and strong and alive. But Storm was different in ways that mattered more than weight and health. Storm would never be a normal horse. That was something Sarah had learned in the first weeks of the recovery. Trauma lived in an animal's body in permanent ways. Trauma lived in the nervous system. Trauma lived in memory. It lived in the sudden panic when a door slammed loud. It lived in the fear of certain kinds of rope. It lived in the way Storm sometimes could not eat, even when hungry, because her mind remembered too many days of hunger. But Storm had learned something else too. Storm had learned to trust Sarah. Not completely, not without question, but enough. Enough to eat from her hand. Enough to rest her head on Sarah's shoulder. Enough to live. Sarah's life had changed completely. She never made it to her sister's house in the north. Instead, she had bought a small piece of land on the mountain with money from her grandmother's will, money that had arrived at exactly the right moment. The letter from the bank, the one she had been too afraid to open, had turned out to be a notification of inheritance, not a bill. Life was strange that way. Sometimes the thing you fear most becomes the thing that saves you. With Dr. Morrison's help, Sarah and others had begun building a sanctuary. Not a big, fancy place, but a real place where hurt animals could come and be healed. Pastures with good grass, barns with clean stalls, a clinic where doctors could work, a place of safety. The animals had started coming, slowly at first, then faster. All 97 animals from Cordwell's operation that had survived the flood were offered to the sanctuary. Rescuers brought animals from other places too, animals that had been hurt, animals that had been hungry, animals that had lost their will to live. Many of them did not survive. The damage had been too great. Some of them were too broken to repair. Sarah learned to accept this hard truth. She learned that saving one life was not the same as saving all lives. She learned that you could do everything right and still lose. but others lived. By the 1-year mark, the sanctuary had 37 horses and foals. Some of them still showed fear. Some of them would never be completely normal, but they were alive. They were safe. They were learning to trust. The prosecutions had continued through the entire year. Dr. Morrison had become a witness in court many times. He had shown pictures of the animals before and after rescue. He had explained the science of abuse and recovery. He had helped convict 12 people who were part of Cordwell's network. But justice had been incomplete. Some people who should have been charged had disappeared. Some people who should have been punished had lawyers who were very good at their jobs. The legal system had caught some of the darkness, but not all of it. Not even most of it. Sarah had learned that justice was not a thing that could be completed. Justice was a direction, a movement towards something better, not a destination you could reach and then relax. 2 months before the 1-year anniversary, something unexpected had happened. A man named Thomas, where the scarred man who had come to the clinic with the threat, had been convicted of animal cruelty and witness intimidation. But he had not gone to prison yet. While waiting for his trial, he had escaped, simply walked away from the place where they were holding him. Sarah had been afraid. She had asked Dr. Morrison if they should leave, if they should run. But Dr. Morrison had said no. If we run, he said, then they win. They win because we became afraid. They win because we stopped doing the work that matters. We do not run. We stay. We continue. We keep the animals safe. And they had stayed. Thomas had never come back. Some people said he had disappeared into the mountains. Some people said he was living in the forests as something wild and permanent. Sarah did not know the truth. She only knew that the threat had not returned. On the 1-year anniversary, something beautiful happened. A little girl came to the sanctuary with her mother. The girl was maybe 6 years old. She had never seen a horse up close before. Her eyes were big with wonder. The kind of wonder that comes before the world teaches you what to be afraid of. That is Storm, Sarah said, coming to stand beside them. Would you like to touch her? The girl nodded. Sarah lifted her up so she could reach Storm's neck. The foal, who had learned that children sometimes came with gentleness, allowed the touch. The girl's small hand stroked Storm's neck very gently. She was sick, Sarah told the girl. But now she is better. Why was she sick? The girl asked. Sarah paused. She could have lied. She could have given a comfortable, simplified answer. Something that did not mention darkness or cruelty or the evil that humans could do to animals. Instead, she told the truth. Because some people did not treat her kindly, Sarah said. They hurt her because they did not care about her feelings. But other people helped her get better. Good people. Kind people. And now she is safe here. The girl reached out and stroked Storm's neck again. And in that moment, Sarah saw something that the news cameras had never captured. She saw something that the court cases had never addressed. She saw healing not as a destination, but as something that happens every single day. She saw hope not as a guarantee that everything will be fine, but as a choice. A daily choice to show up and try. Will she be sad forever? The girl asked. Sometimes, Sarah said honestly, sad things happen to her. You do not forget sad things. But she learned that good things can happen too. She learned that there are people who care. That helps. The girl smiled. Storm nuzzled the girl's shoulder gently. And for a moment, in that green pasture under the blue sky, there was peace. Not the peace of forgetting what happened, but the peace of moving forward anyway. That night, Sarah sat on the fence and watched the horses grazing in the pasture. Storm was with the other horses. She was not alone anymore. She had found her herd. She had found her place. Sarah thought about the girl's question. Would she be sad forever? The answer was yes and no. Yes, because trauma is real and permanent. No, because life is bigger than trauma. Because presence is powerful. Because witness matters. Because showing up and trying, even when it is hard, even when it is incomplete, even when justice never fully comes, that still matters. The sanctuary was not a perfect solution. The laws were not perfect. The justice system was not perfect. But what they had created was real. What they had built was a place where broken things could become a little bit less broken. A place where scared animals could learn to trust. A place where humans could choose to care instead of choosing to hurt. As the sun went down over the mountains, Sarah made a promise to herself. Not a promise of perfect endings, but a promise to continue, to keep showing up, to keep the animals safe, to keep being a witness to their healing. Because sometimes, in a world full of darkness, that is the most important thing. That is the only thing that matters. One person who listens to a cry in the darkness. One person who decides to help. One person who chooses to care. That is how the world changes. Not all at once. Not perfectly, but changes. And in that change, in that slow, difficult, ongoing change, there is hope. Storm ate grass in the fading light. She was alive. She was safe. She was learning to trust. And that was enough.